42, right?
You're on 49.
Pulling the Thread podcast,
41.
episode 49. We will just delve right in.
We did that last week. It's 50.
What's going on in the world? Do you know?
We are doing everything we can. We are doing everything in our power to get into war. The Biden administration is so afraid of this coming election that they want to start a nuclear war.
Yeah, that is how it seems.
They said.
Why is his mic so low?
I don't know. Is it low or high?
I'm hearing you very lowly.
Lowly?
How about now? How about now? Is that you?
That's too high. Why?
How about now? Okay.
Are you saying bass?
No, I hear me good. I don't hear you loud.
You want more Barry White?
Hello.
Hello.
How low can you go? Did you ever do conga?
Have I ever done? Maybe. I mean, maybe. You know, I grew up in the 80s.
Did you ever roller skate?
Oh yeah, I roller skated. Man, I was at the roller skate rink every Friday night.
Like gay roller skate or like transportation roller skate? Like you had like on disco, like 1970s workout gear, tube socks, and dolphin shorts?
No, we weren't that roller skating.
Have you seen all the shorts of all the people that are in the roller skating rinks now?
Yeah, it's coming back.
It's like a conga line.
Yeah, it's coming back. But yeah, in elementary school, every Friday, 8 to midnight, at the roller skate, because that was the only place you could meet girls.
We had Kearney Mesa Bowl.
Yeah, we had
not roller skating.
Ours was roller skate land. They bulldozed it. But now
do you hear? I don't hear shit from. Like I know he's talking, but I do not fucking hear his microphone.
Can everybody hear us?
Did you?
How do you know?
Bang?
You can't what?
Tap rack bang.
Tap rack bang. That's what he did. He cleared that malfunction pretty well.
Isn't that how you're supposed to check it, right? You just tap rack and then you just light one off
yes.
in the barracks if your shit's jammed up or
wherever you're at. It doesn't matter barracks or...
Did you see the video of the Air Force guys?
No.
I sent it to you. He's got a saw or something and he's got it stuck in the tube and he's fucking around with it and bam, skins one off. But it was like everybody like lost their shit, jumped out of their skin.
They should have lost their shit. That's a big skin one off, a saw.
It was. Yeah. I assume it was loud.
I don't know.
I don't
know how he could have done that. Because obviously, if there was more than one bullet in there, it would have kept firing. It would have just fired.
I think
one.
it was just one round went off, but it was a big fucking.
Which, the saw doesn't hold one on the feed tray, so he had to have it.
Maybe it wasn't a saw. Maybe it was something else.
It could have been. He could have had a round, like somehow. I don't know how he could have done it, but he could have had a round in the chamber and then pulled the trigger and that would have fired it. But that's just very weird with a saw because you're basically if you have a round in the chamber, when you're racking the action, you're pulling whatever is in the chamber out. So interesting.
It's like having a single round in M1 Grand.
No.
You shouldn't be able to do it, but I mean, fucking you can do it.
Not. You have to really set that one up. You can't just. You're not just going to have a single round in M1 Grand. You got to set it up.
You never know.
Yeah.
Your asshole friend.
Could be. It usually is your asshole friend. That's why I'm wondering about this saw. It was probably Brandel over there being like, "This is going to be so fucking funny. Let me put this live round in here."
So did you see Nancy Pelosi's husband's attacker?
No, his lover. You mean?
He has come out today and said that he was watching Tim Pool and Glenn Beck and wanted to kidnap Nancy Pelosi so that she would have to publicly tell everybody how corrupt that she is. That's the whole thing. There's a bunch of other shit going on right now that's you're not seeing, because this is what's being fucking thrown at the screen right now.
Whatever.
Yep.
It's just Pelosi's gay lover, so it's all right.
What about have you ever seen any footage or heard anything of Joe Biden telling, I don't know who he was telling, if you don't do this, we're going to give you an earthquake? Turkey, I think it was Turkey.
I have not seen any of that footage.
And then you've seen the dude on Sean Ryan's show saying that he was a fireman, and then he was a plumber.
A plumber.
And he would do plumbing work for these rich billionaires.
Okay.
So they gave him a job at the South Pole.
South Pole, I've heard this one.
And then gave him the keys to everything. And he just went in and found the ice neutrino thing or whatever.
Yeah, the thing that
makes earthquakes.
Or makes earthquakes.
And the manual's on the desk, so he read the manual and he's like, "Oh my God, this is a weapon." Have you heard all this?
I saw the.
So Sean Ryan had him on.
I saw the 5 minutes where he's talking about, where he's like, "Yeah, I have all the keys," and I go and I find the fucking earthquake machine, and then I was like, Boop.
Rogan blasts him. And he's like, and he's a remote viewer, and I think I worked for the CIA, but I can't really recall if I worked for the CIA. My employers would have me show up and then tell me which vehicle I had. Let's just say that I had a Camaro, and it was a street racing Camaro. So I really did a lot of getaway driving. Well, Valuetainment had him on, and I'm like, man, he's really kid gloving this guy. Like, he is not asking. And then boom, like the floodgate fucking opened, and he's like, basically like, yeah, this all sounds like bullshit. So he took it well, man. He didn't seem to, like, you could tell he's probably used to this type of handling, because you have no supporting evidence. You have like,
well, when a guy has been telling that story long enough,
he's really good at it.
He's really good at it, and again, he's probably been called out on it a lot of times, and it's just one of those things where
I don't know what
especially the it's not monetary. So you're always thinking of how
he's just a crazy person.
Well, you're always thinking of how to take something that is social and turn it into financial reward. Take something and make money with it. When you're a sociopath like that, when you have that storyline in your life, it's not about the money, it's about the recognition. Motherfucker was on the Sean Ryan show, right? Think about that. Brandel, who's known him for 10 years is like, oh my God, here comes Pete. He's always telling some fucking crazy story, right? And now he's going to go back and he's going to be like, you see me on the show, bro? You see me? Even Sean Ryan believes me. So it's just, he's not trying to make money with it. He's trying to just get the reward of being recognized. It's the same thing with Stolen Valor guys. When Stolen Valor guys are running around and they got 9 Medal of Honors and 14 Purple Hearts, they're not doing it so they can get 10% off their Applebee's entree. They're doing it because they want the recognition. They want somebody to come up to them and be like, hey man, thank you for your service. And oh man. And then he gets to tell a bunch of bullshit stories and somebody will listen to him. It's really sad, actually.
Is it just for the attention, or is he trying to get chicks out of it?
I'm sure it's just for the attention.
I feel like these dudes are like carnies. Like the carnival travels a circuit.
Well,
the carnies go to this town, and here's why I say that, because it's like the Lizard People guys and like all the Art Bell guys, right? All the dudes that were on Art Bell. They get on one show, and then they're on another show, and they're on another show, and that's the carny circuit. That's the carnival circuit. That's like the gun show circuit.
I would say it's a little bit different in the sense that the carnies are moving. The reason why carnies are moving around is because they're using oddities and highly dangerous rides in order to get money from people.
Yeah, they have to leave because of the future lawsuit that's coming when the court opens on Monday.
Or, again, if the fucking carnival is in downtown Camden for a month, it's over with. The first couple of weekends, people are going to go and do the rides and throw their quarters in the fucking
and they're like, every time I eat the spun sugar, I really feel
you got to keep moving, which is similar to the guys that are running the
or as soon as the health department has the fucking the chlamydia hit, they're like, where'd this all come from? The carnies.
But the guys that are, spinning yarns about their life, they have to also move on, because eventually people are like, fuck, Green Lizard again. So they too have to make the circuit, right? They too have to make the circuit, because if you're walking around and you got 5 Navy Crosses and 4 Medal of Honors and you got a fucking Force Recon wings and Navy SEAL fucking scuba bubbles and all that shit.
Doesn't that kind of fuck his t-shirt up? Like how many times can he pin that onto a t-shirt?
Eventually.
They're heavy, right? They're metal still.
Yeah. Eventually somebody's going to be like, bro, you need to move on. Right? It eventually, when people are like busting out fake military people, they've been busted out before. This is just, a lot of people don't make a big deal about it. Like I've had, that's one of the pleasures of being in the sniper community is I always, when somebody says, what'd you do in the military? I'm like, 0311. Because if you even think about saying sniper, everybody was a sniper, right? And you always run into people who are like, yeah, I was a fucking scout sniper. I went to fucking school at Fort AP Hill. And you're like, whatever, dude. People want to be something
I was there.
It's recognizable.
So we had a chick that worked for us, and her brother always had the sniper story.
Yeah.
Well, Gibbs Jay runs into this dude in a bar or something, and he's sitting there listening, and he hears the sniper, Barrett 50 cal, and I ended up meeting the guy, and he immediately goes into it. He comes because his sister's working someplace cool in the other building, and he comes in to give me all his sniper stories, and I'm just like, so you're 8541? He's like, what? I'm like, so you carried the Sasser? You use the Sasser a lot? What? And like that was kind of the end of the conversation right there. But he did, man. He went on and on and on, and then finally Jay's like, "Hey, man, everybody knows you're full of shit." And he said it like quietly.
Yeah.
He's like, "Everybody knows you're full of shit. You need to probably, go do something, go whatever." We have a girl in here right now. I can't remember which one it is, and she's always like, so and so's brother, same thing. PTSD, wounded warrior, and his mom is like, he didn't even deploy. He never even left the United States. But that's the story that is spun all over the community here.
Because, well, if you don't have and maybe that's issue.
it, yeah.
If you don't have a real story, if you're just, I've run into this recently. If you're just an NPC that is just floating through life, I think they recognize that they don't have a story. And if I tell you, like, for example, if you know that I was I was in the Navy, right? And then I don't have anything to go along with it, but I know that if I can spin up a PTSD story, somehow I'm going to get
We're never going to get past that.
We're never going to get past that thing. And I'm going to get your attention, and you're going to be like, oh, thank you for your service and all that shit. So
where'd you go to boot camp?
I think that's just it. That people's lives are so, me included, they're so insignificant that.
Is there only one boot camp now?
No. For who?
Okay, for the Navy, right? So Great Lakes and NTC, or is NTC's closed?
I think NTC's dead.
And then,
but I'm not.
And then what's the Marine Corps? Parris Island and MCRD.
Yeah, Parris Island.
Is MCRD still there?
Yeah, MCRD's still there. Yeah, it's where they train the men.
The men.
Yeah.
So what about giants?
What about giants?
Well, we're talking lizard people. What about giants?
Well, it's not far-fetched to think that people were taller than they are now.
What about current giants?
Like the baseball team, or?
No, large.
Oh, I don't
humanoid type figures.
I don't think there's any.
What about the red-haired giants?
Again, there's the red-haired giants. The Arapaho?
No,
trapped in the cave and killed them all. I don't know. I don't know anything about redhead giants.
Are you fucking with me right now?
No, I'm not fucking with you.
You don't know that there's a bunch of military personnel said that their whole fucking platoon was killed and torn to pieces by fucking red-haired giants in fucking Afghanistan?
Again, I have heard those rumors floating around the internet.
What if you met a dude and he sat here fucking, could he convince you?
I would be like, bro, I am sure that there is something you've done in the military that is just as cool as the fake story about redheaded giants.
So you don't think there's any possibility?
I don't think there's any possibility.
It was a Marine platoon.
I know. That's not true.
There's Army guys I've also heard.
And Navy SEALs. Meaning this is a story that has transgressed services, right? It's moved around services, but you don't ever have a real hard point on any of it. For example.
You think Hamas has them now?
Maybe.
They're in the tunnels?
They're in the tunnels.
They're going to bring them out?
I'll just give you an example. If a rifle platoon, a Marine Corps rifle platoon, or a Navy SEAL team, or a fucking SF det were wiped out killing redheaded giants, you could identify those individuals immediately, where they were killed, how they were killed. Like I could go right now and be like, hey, Sergeant Major, who was killed at this time, right? The stories are all just generic. They're not specific about anything. And again, I think that's just like when you hear a story like that, it's just like a guy with 9 Medal of Honors. We're just trying to create something that's not real. Because again, imagine, John, you are a fucking Navy SEAL, right? Or even I'll just say Marine. You are a fucking U.S. Marine. And you go into a cave and there's 10-foot redheaded giants in there. And you get in a fight with 10-foot redheaded giants and you kill one. you're going to take 900 pictures, teabagging them, peeing on them. You're going to take a video of you guys dragging them out of the cave, and no amount of command authority, meaning, the general coming down and going, hey, Lance Corporals, you can't tell anybody that you killed a red-headed giant. No fucking amount of command authority would stop those pictures from entering the real world. Not a single one of them. They got pictures of Marines pissing on dead Iraqis. Why? Because dudes took pictures and they put the phone in their pocket and they went,
Do you think that wasn't happening in Vietnam?
What do you mean?
Pissing on fucking bodies and photos and shit.
The difference is...
Because we had embedded... That was like an MOS, right? Camera guy?
Yeah, camera guy, but... Here's the difference. When they were... A lot of stuff, when you think about those time periods, an embedded camera guy. So, if you're a Marine, and I'm a Marine, but you are a combat journalist, and you're going to do a story about fucking 7th Marines in the A Shaw Valley.
Right, we're not going to make you look bad.
You ain't going to make fucking them look bad. Plus, there is an officer that is above you that's going to approve all those pictures, and they're going to be like, yeah, not this one. Not this one. Who's this motherfucker with ears hanging around? Not that one. So, no, they don't make them, they're not going to make a unit look bad. They can't.
So how do those photos get out there later, like the ears and stuff like that?
Because regular dudes, because Brandel's walking around with his fucking
Polaroid camera,
his home camera, and he's like, dude, hold the head up. And there's the picture. And then 20 years later, his grandkids are going through holy shit, there's grandpa with a fucking head in his hand. And that's how those pictures get out there. Or, I'm holding the head. Brandel takes the picture. And then I make him burn shit when we get back to the fucking rear. And he's like, I'm going to develop this fucking picture and I'm going to send it to everybody. And he develops a bunch of pictures and starts handing it around. And that's how the picture gets around. Can
you get in trouble for that after the fact?
Well, I would say in Vietnam, no. I mean, you might be harshly... Well, no. Because they had in Vietnam, you had a body count requirement. So there was a portion of time... where they were bringing heads back.
And we lost, I think it was Valuetainment or Bet David. I heard recently, last couple of days, we were losing the entire amount of people we lost in the Iraq war. We were losing that per day in Vietnam. Is it 5,000? And in Vietnam, we were losing as high as 5,000 people a day sometimes.
I mean, that could be right. It could be right. I don't know the statistics on that.
So when you hear, I
don't know the statistics on that, but the statistics as far as the military goes is if your unit was deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan, even at the height of combat, your Marines and soldiers were safer over there than they were back here in the States. We lost more guys back in the States than we did
training accidents,
suicides, motorcycle accidents, car accidents. We were losing more guys back here in the States than we were in combat.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because when you're in the real fight, your focus and energy is all on the real fight, and everybody's focus and energy is on the same thing. So, usually you're not thinking about the girl that left you behind, or you're thinking about your brother to the left and right, and you're more closely supervised. When you're in the rear, you have a lot of free time. The way the military operates now, fucking 1700, they're like, go home. And that's the last you see of any leadership. Well, the problem is home's not home. Home's a fucking barracks with 150 other testosterone fucking crazy maniacs that are going to fucking get drunk, drive cars, do all kinds of stupid shit. So it's a mad world, but that's why.
So what do you think the numbers between Vietnam, do you think we were better off during Vietnam as a military compared to what we were, say, 10 years ago? I wouldn't say now. We know we're fucked up now, but 10 years ago, right? Or let's say when you were in.
Vietnam was a soup sandwich.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were we able to accomplish more?
No.
Why did we kill so many more there and we didn't here? Is that because of we were not allowed to kill them? Or was the enemy just not present to be killed like it was in Vietnam?
We have become, since Vietnam, we have become more civilized.
But we're the only ones that follow those rules.
Yeah, but that's because it's optics.
Just like we don't blow up hospitals, right? They blow up hospitals.
But it's optics. we have learned through Vietnam, because when we were carpet bombing North Vietnam and we were doing, the optics became terrible. Now, it takes a long time for the images of war back in the 60s and 70s to get back to John Willis. Like, they were purposely for a long time banning casualty lists. But it was the casualty lists that really was turning the tide of the war, because every night people would turn on their TV and there'd be this fucking list of guys that had been killed. Whereas if you think about the Afghani and Iraq war, again, all volunteers and no press about people dying. Like, there was no fucking, you could not turn on a single news channel and see, like, for example, I'll give you an example. We just lost a helicopter.
I was going to bring that up.
We just lost a helicopter.
Yeah.
You've seen all their faces. You know all their names.
Do we know all their faces and names?
Yeah.
Do you believe it was really a training accident in the Mediterranean? You don't think there was a combat mission someplace?
No, it was a training accident because of the mix. There was a unique mix on board that aircraft.
What was that mix?
It was just a unique mix. Like, there was really only one guy that was outside of the pilot. Obviously, the pilot was a soft guy, but there was really only one guy on there that you would think ninja. So
because of the way you physically looked at them?
No, his background. So
who were the other people?
They were just regular people.
Are you fucking? You're just not saying something right now? What?
No,
is it the gay lesbian platoon?
No, it wasn't. I'm just saying it was a training.
It was the tranny.
It was definitely a training. It was definitely a training accident. It wasn't. They weren't on some fucking secret mission to fly around the Mediterranean and catch fish. But what I'm saying is, they've published all those names. They've shown all their pictures. They didn't do that during the war.
This was a Black Hawk went down?
Yeah, Black Hawk. They didn't do that during the war. And the reason why they didn't do that during the war, because DOD understands the effects of that from Vietnam. So they don't want people to know that people are dying in wherever. Like, they're not going to publish those names and put them out there. You see it sometimes on local news, but not national. And that's how it was national for Vietnam. And the other thing is that military was a drafted military. And that's the worst military you can have, because you don't have any, you have drafted a bunch of people. And I know there was guys that served their country and did very well in Vietnam. But if I'm drafting you, you don't want to go to Vietnam. You're there because the government is forcing you to go. Not the best soldiers.
What about all the guys that did multiple rotations to Vietnam, multiple tours over and over? They obviously wanted to be there. They wasn't required, right? If you're in prison, in lieu of going to prison, or we're going to let you out of prison, you have to do a tour in Vietnam. But you have a ton of guys, like a lot. Well, I mean, who do we know? We've never talked to a man in Vietnam really that wasn't really doing some shit. So I mean, they're more an elite unit, so they are doing multiple tours.
When you think more elite unit, you also have to think about, like, for example, Afghanistan. Well, I'll use Iraq as an example. 20 years? 20 years we've been there? So if Lance Corporal Brandel had joined the Marine Corps, he's got fucking 8, just in normal military rotation. So if he is in 03, just in normal military rotation in those 20 years, yeah, the motherfucker's been to Iraq and Afghanistan 8 times. Not because he's like, yeah, I want to go to fucking Afghanistan.
But that wasn't the case in Vietnam, though.
Same thing with Vietnam.
Yeah?
Yeah. They don't... Commanders... War is a unique... It's a unique thing. You have to understand that most of your command and control, right? The people who are in charge, they're always boots. They're usually never seasoned combat veterans, meaning, your company commander, this is the first time he's had an infantry company, and this is the first time he's been to Vietnam. They don't want a company that's full of a bunch of dudes who've been there 8 times. Did
you want to go back?
Oh yeah, I would have went back. I wish that the Marine Corps would have had a stay in country program where you could just go to the next unit and just stay in country. Why would you want to do anything else? It's fucking ridiculous. The whole point of the Marine Corps is to close with and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, not go back and get a sexual harassment class. Fuck that. I've said this before. No No U.S. service member should ever be in harm's way without a declaration of war by Congress. A declaration of war, period. Especially Afghanistan and Iraq. Those were fucking real wars.
Do the rules of engagement change with that?
Yes. The rules of engagement change once they declare war.
To the individual soldier?
Yes. It would change the rule. Because once you declare war, all this fucking, all the niceties that they're like, hey, we need to prop up the government in Afghanistan. That's over because I've declared war on the government of Afghanistan. I'm going to fucking destroy everything until the last motherfucker surrenders and then worry about establishing a new government, right? When we were fighting Japan in the Pacific, there wasn't some, congressional committee that was like, hey, Emperor Tojo, what we're going to do is we're going to take care of you and make sure you are taken care of while we fight this war in the Pacific. No, they were like, we're going to kill everybody we can fucking kill until we get to you, and you better fucking surrender. That's how war has to be fought. The problem with Afghanistan and Iraq, or the problem with the military-industrial complex, is they don't want to win. They don't want to win. You don't make money by winning wars.
Forever war.
Yeah, it's better to just fucking nickel and dime everybody.
I don't remember who it was. We heard a female a couple months ago said we need a war with a seaport because we need to make some more ships. They need General Dynamics to push out some more ships, and that's where the real money comes from, is from the shipbuilding. We need bigger arms built.
Well, the United States doesn't need to go to war with somebody with a big port.
No. This is for your congressmen make money, the kickbacks and shit from these bigger companies making.
Yeah, we have plenty of space here to make the biggest ships ever, but it's just
what that bitch was basically saying is we need to lose some ships so that we need to build some for replacements.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're always rotating out. By the time you get one done, the other one has to leave.
Are you aware of all the earthquakes that have just happened around the world, like all on the same day?
No.
Sweden just had some major earthquakes. Germany had some earthquakes. There was Amanda was telling me, because I brought it up. I was just watching a little short, and she said, that happened in like 10 different places around the world, all at the same time. They had like 1,000 earthquakes.
Have you ever seen the earthquake monitors?
Like I've seen the maps of them all day long, every day.
Yeah, all day long, every
just
day
like
long.
143 volcanoes going off
all
constantly.
day, every day, all day long. It just becomes news. It just becomes news when it happens somewhere that people don't expect it. Like if we had an earthquake here in Camden, everybody would be like, "Oh my god!"
I remember
lizard people.
Do you remember when they were throwing cinder blocks off the high freeway overpasses in San Diego, like on the 805 and the 5 and stuff? I remember Joe Winnie being in the garage, police officer friend of ours, and I'd said, "Did you guys ever catch that guy?" He's like, "No, what do you mean?" I go, "Well, because you never hear about it anymore." He goes, "No, it happens all the time. It happens so frequently, the news just stopped reporting."
Right, yeah.
People are killed by other people from random shit they throw off. Like every day it happens.
Yeah. Yes,
we've just become desensitized to it.
It's not just desensitized. You get news cycle
sensationalism,
fatigue. It's just not. The news is always looking for the next, sensationalized thing. And if I tell you that there's kids throwing rocks off the bridge every day, that's just not news anymore. It's really just not news anymore.
Does the name Dick Rogers mean anything to you?
No.
Dick Rogers is an alias for a SEAL, an NSW guy.
Okay.
This is currently happening right now. He has been going around to school board meetings and drag time story hours and stuff as a father of the children who are actually attending these schools. And he's been very boisterous and outspoken about his displeasure for these things. And he actually busted out. They had drag time story hour on several military bases also. This happened on some schools on base and happened on a aircraft carrier. They had drag time. They had a full drag show. Is that a normal thing?
I mean,
are you going to say the Navy?
It's the Navy.
Are you going to say the Navy?
I mean, it is the Navy. They've been dressing in drag for a long time.
So somebody got a hold of who his actual identity was.
Yeah.
And because he says he is a veteran. Prior service. He was not saying who he was.
Right.
So somebody got his name, put it out there, and now the Navy has, I guess, suspended him, and there's this big investigation. And he happened to be at some place. They're putting him up as a Proud Boy, and he's like, I think the story is, no, they just happen to be at this thing.
Right.
I don't even know these guys, but they're trying to jam him up over this, apparently.
Yeah, makes sense. They don't like bad publicity.
Right.
And the woke crowd is the squeaky wheel. Even though they are in no way, shape, or form a majority, or even, a real force to be reckoned with, they are the squeaky wheel. And because they squeak the loudest, everybody thinks that they have to listen to what they have to say, and everybody should be hated equally across the board.
So you aware Newsom, Gavin Newsom went to China a couple of weeks ago?
Well, of course, they pay his salary.
Okay. So are you aware that Xi Jinping is in San Francisco today right now?
And they cleaned up the entire city
Not only did they clean up the entire city, somebody sent me a short video, I think it was 30 seconds, of this motorcade, and I didn't realize what it was. I was just kind of looking at it, and I'm like, is this the president? Who is this? What's the deal? It's all Chinese flags everywhere.
Yeah.
Fucking China flags all through. There's not a fucking American flag anywhere to be seen. They've removed all the American flags, at least on this route where this was taking place in San Francisco.
Yeah, because he's getting paid. That's all. He's just getting paid. Whatever. I mean, it would have been a good time for a bomb.
Yeah.
It would have been a good. I mean, the real question is, where'd they put all those homeless people? That's the question that nobody is asking, is where'd they go? Because they didn't disappear. They didn't put them in the Hyatt. They had to have done something with them.
Well, you remember when they were doing something in D.C. and they fucking put them all on buses and moved them to San Diego.
The difference is when they were doing that back then, there wasn't as many. Like, you would, if San Francisco was like, hey, we're going to put these motherfuckers on a bus and send them to Portland, it would be a fucking huge ass bus convoy. Like, it would have made the news because they'd have been herding those motherfuckers on the buses. The real question is what they do with all this homeless. It's funny that the city of San Francisco can clean up the city for a fucking communist turd, but they can't clean up the city for the actual taxpayers of that city. Fuck San Francisco. I hope it falls into the ocean.
Well, do you not think it's by design, just like the Summer of Love and the mostly peaceful protests, right? When they burn those places down, all those people that burnt down all those businesses, those were black-owned businesses, right? Those were businesses that had been there generationally. So when they burned those down, especially while it was during COVID, right? So nobody had any income sources because everybody was closed down. You had to apply for a permit to now do the demolition and clean your place up. Oh, but you can't have the permit because you haven't paid property taxes for the last 2 years. Well, who owns those places? When you look at them, it's always by the big banksters. The banksters buy all that shit. Do you not think that this is designed to push the people? Typically, if you're not for the left, right? It's not Democrats, it's the left, the insane left. If you're not for the left, and we make things uncomfortable for you, people are shitting in front of your $3 million mansion, you're going to sell your shit and you're going to go to Texas or Florida, right? Now we have your shit. We have successfully driven you out.
Well, I don't even think when we say for the left,
I'm just using that.
Yeah,
as
I know,
example.
but when we're talking about Portland and San Francisco, I don't believe that is the overarching plan. The conspiracy that I have is that the politicians in those cities have been bought off by China, and the goal is to destroy as much of the infrastructure in those areas in order to depreciate the value of all the property, so people do leave because of the crime, because of pooping on the streets. They do leave those areas because you have you have a bunch of Chinese millionaires that need to divest their money out of China into something else. So if you create all this depressed real estate in really great places, like, fucking Portland's a great place.
Is it invest, or we're actually going to? No,
they're going to buy it.
They're going to move there.
They're going to buy it. Yeah,
But you don't think they're going to occupy it?
Well, fortunately for America, the Chinese Communist Party has a fucking pretty hard line about that shit. And so, yes, John Willis can buy a fucking, a 45-story building. He can take his Chinese money and buy a 45-story building in downtown San Francisco. And John Willis's kids can go to San Francisco and go to school. Your wife can visit San Francisco, but your ass ain't leaving. You ain't leaving. We are keeping you here in China. They have a pretty hard line about people escaping. because China doesn't want their millionaires to escape. Because again, it's a fucking communist world that sucks. China sucks. It's cool that, I look at it this way. You could be a billionaire in China, right? It's not like here. Any day of the week, the Communist Party can take all that shit away from you.
They did. The guy that started Chinese Facebook.
So the goal is to get the goal for most uber rich Chinese people, Chinese billionaires, is to get as much of that money out of the country as they can and create a opportunity to maybe flee. But the fucking Chinese Communist Party is watching them like hawks. So like even yes, can their kids come here and go to school? Of course. Can their wife visit? Yes. They keep a tight rein on those guys. So they're buying a bunch of property, but it's not like they're taking immigrants from the middle of China and going, hey, you're going to go live in that fucking building. They're not doing that. And we're in a point right now where San Francisco and Portland, yeah, those are two fucked up places. But we're in a point right now where Americans are starting to look at that and go, how can China own any fucking property in the United States? That's the kind of clincher. The clincher is always this. America really is no different than China. From the standpoint of any day of the week, like notwithstanding our current government, because our current government is filled with a bunch of fucking idiots. But every 4 years, our government changes. And in 4 years, there could be a new president and a new Congress that's like, yeah, fuck you, China, and rip up every one of those deeds.
What state was it that just kicked China out?
Idaho, or I don't know. So one of those red states.
I thought it was further east.
Or maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so it's not like, what's the ramification? If John buys a fucking building in downtown San Francisco, and then 2 years from now, the San Francisco Board of Directors is like, yeah, you can't own it anymore. We're going to take it back. What's the what can you do about it? You can go to the international court, but the United States always says fuck off to the international court. So it's one of those things where it's more important for the Chinese to be able to get some value into the United States. So if they do escape, like if they can escape, they're not trying to buy up the land. Those guys aren't trying to buy up the land so they can be like, let's put up a Chinese flag and we now own San Francisco. They're trying to buy up the land so they can get the fuck out of China. They don't, it doesn't matter what the Communist Party line says. Like, for example, even if you were a Chinese billionaire and you're like, yes, I am going to buy Alcatraz Island for the Chinese people and raise a flag. You're only saying that because that's what Pooh Bear needs you to hear, right? That's what you're saying. That's going to be your party line, because if you don't say that, not only you're not going to be able to leave the country, you're not going to be able to spend the money, and he's probably going to kill you. So while the party line says that they are trying to take over the world, they're really fleeing. They're really trying to get the fuck out of that country because it's a shithole. I mean, not necessarily in the sense of poop on the street, but the Communist Party controls everything you fucking do. So why would you want to be there? Example, fucking Elon Musk can go out and fire rockets off into space. You can't do that in China.
So you still have the belief that if they had, like, let's say there's Chinese sleeper cells here.
Yeah.
You think they're just busy being Americans and they've just gone rogue and they won't call when
No, I'm sure
their sat phones go off and they're like, activate Plan B. They're like, no, I like America.
I am sure that there are plenty of spies in this country. Hell, we've had congressmen recently busted out sleeping with spies. But their intention is different than what we want it, what we envision it to believe, right? So we envision sleeper cells are here to fucking, I don't know, throw poison in the local water plant or blow up a fucking electrical grid. Or that's not why Chinese spies are here. Chinese spies are here to get technology. They want to know what technology we have because China can't create its own technology.
What was a TV show a few years ago?
Those were Russians.
Yeah, supposed to take place in like the 70s or whatever. Yeah.
Same thing. Same thing that even with the Russians, we tend to give more credit than where credit is due. Even with the Russians, The point of having spies here was to get our technology, because we were so far advanced of everybody else. The point was our technology. I mean, there's a story about a fucking Russian spy, which ingenious. He figured out. I think this was, and you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the F-16 when the F-16 was being developed
in the 50s.
Whenever it was being developed.
Like, that shit's all old, guys.
When the F-16 was being developed, the Russians created a special set of shoes for him that picked up anything that was on the ground. And he worked his way into a position where he got a tour of the factory where they were making these aircraft. And he wore those shoes just to get the metal flakes off the ground so the Russians could identify what we were making the aircraft out of. That's what they really want. They don't, we especially America. America is like Russia. We are fucking too huge.
It seems like our politicians would just sell it to them.
Now they will. Yeah, now they will. Back then that wasn't a thing. Back then our politicians were a little more American and less Chinese. So now we will sell technology to the highest bidder. A
little more American. That's funny. You say that. I see these dudes come on posts and comment just like heinous shit, and I'm like, what do you like? We're on the same team. Like, are you not American? Am I not American? Like, why? What's the end goal? What do you want to accomplish with these things you say here? Right? We're trying to stand men up and build them, and just make stronger U.S. citizens. Right? A few. We can affect a few. But you come out and say these things. Like, are we not both Americans? Like, what do you hope to get?
It goes back to that thing we were talking about before with the fake soldiers and fake. It's the same thing. You have individuals that are lonely, depressed, anxious, and they don't have a way to express that. And the only way to get attention is if they express a negative view, right? A negative view will always get more. It's like, we look at a negative comment, you go to a restaurant, right? You don't look at all the 4 stars. You immediately look at who gave them a 1 star and why'd they give them 1 star. Because we tend to want to focus on the negative thing in how we decide what we do. And so people are using the internet to express the frustration and really sadness that's in their life by attacking other people. They don't bring value.
Do you think you could diffuse that if you're just like, hey, come here, I'll give you a hug?
Maybe.
Like, hey, why don't you come and see for yourself?
For some people that might work, but again, I think that a lot of those people,
they're just damaged.
They're just they're too far gone. Where you're more likely to get into some sort of physical altercation because that person is just too damaged.
I saw something recently said the person that hates you the most believes in you the most.
No, that's not true.
But you know what I'm saying. Like for social media, right? The guy that shows up to talk shit all the time, he sure watches what you're doing. He's the one paying the most attention, and it's because he needs you to stop what you're doing because he knows that you're going to be successful. And it's usually somebody that knows you, right, with a fake name, and you're making him look bad to somebody. If you are sitting with your peers, and all of a sudden you start your new venture and you start taking off, his wife's like, "Hey, motherfucker, why are you here getting fat and drinking beer on the couch?"
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I don't think that's true. My take on that would be the reason, they're attacking you because you have a social media presence that gives them a social media presence. And the more social media presence you get, the more social media presence they get, right? You're, as they say, tides uplift all, even the turd. So if this turd, let's say this turd, I don't know, he's got 5 friends, right? And he spends the next year talking shit about SOE. Maybe next year he has 10 or 15 people liked his comment, right? Because he said one thing that resonates with somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's, that the tides uplift all, even turds. Because again, I think my opinion is with social media, and maybe it has nothing to do with social media, really. We have created generation upon generation of people who are very lonely, very isolated, and don't have a sense of net worth or a place to belong.
I think there's a lot of weakness mental weakness.
Well,
we give out the fucking participation trophies, and they're catching up now. You got a dude playing for a college team, like premier college football team or whatever, and he doesn't show up to practice for like 2 weeks, and he shows up, and the coach is like, "You're off the team. Like, we called you in. You missed a game. You missed practice. You're not on the team." Well, the kid's recording this, trying to make a big deal out of it, and you're on a premier team. And you got here out of sheer talent, right? Not because you have any no mental toughness, right? So if you put forth the effort and develop the mental toughness and the ability to work, imagine what you could have been. And now you're fucking off. You're like, you're going nowhere else. And it's I had some mental health days or whatever it was. Like, that doesn't work in the real world. That works in the fucking make believe world.
What I would say is, our generation, we have a unique look at the world. The reason why when you think about our generation, about mental toughness and stuff, it's because that's the way we were raised. We were latchkey kids. You had to make your own dinner because mom was at work. You had to do these things in order to survive. And then when you think about the culture, the culture was Kill a Commie for Mommy. It was G.I. Joe. It was men were hard, women were soft. That was the culture that we were raised in. And so when we look at the generation that's coming up right now and think the motherfucker's just soft, the motherfucker's just weak, it's because that's the culture that unfortunately those dudes have been raised in. Mm-hmm. Like for example, that football player, I don't blame him because he has been raised fucking wrong. He has been raised in the sense that I can do no wrong. And all I have to do is create a social media outcry, and these guys will do exactly what I tell them to do.
Sure.
So, I don't know the solution to it outside of a fucking war, like a real war.
I think we're about to see one,
because that straightens out all those problems. But again, I don't know the solution to it. I don't think. Fuck. I don't think we're gonna get to see a real war, but. It's just terrible social engineering. When you have a society that says women can do everything on their own, to include raise children, this is what you get. You get a bunch of incels who want to kill other people. You get crazy white anti-tranny people that want to kill a bunch of kids. That's because that's not how we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be that. We were supposed to have a family unit, a family tribe, and a bigger tribe. So everybody can take care of everybody. But we don't do that anymore. And I think that is the reason why people are so fucked up, is because all the loneliness.
I think some people are doing it.
And people are trying to do it. Yeah, people are trying to do it, but the fabric and the structure of how society has changed makes it almost impossible, right? How many friends do you have on Facebook, John? 7,000? You know what
700,000.
Yeah. But you don't, right?
I say it all the time.
Yeah, you don't.
We've changed the meaning of words, right? My friend. And when you press them, I like to ask guys, especially when they're like, my friend, I'm like, when's the last time you saw your friend? Well, like I talked to him, but when's the last time you were face to face, right? Bear says to conspire is to breathe together.
Yeah.
I'm like, when's the last time you were close enough to share air with him? When's the last time you sat and broke bread with him, right? Had a meal. And when you really push them, that's what we used to say all the time about our social media presence, right? Our followers on Facebook. And then when dudes from like ARFCOM would come over and talk all that shit, and I go, the difference between us is that we actually know each other. If the Saw guy, the fucking gore movie guy, if they gassed 75 of my people and threw us in a van and we all woke up fucking naked in the garage together, well, you guys would be naked, we wouldn't. When we looked around and came to, and then they gassed 75 guys from the forum or whatever, and they come to, there's a good 50, 60, 70 of us are going to know each other. We're going to see each other. We're going to be able to put together pretty quick what we all have in common, and we're going to know who fucking grabbed us for what reason. You motherfuckers, you ain't never seen each other.
I actually had that happen.
Somebody met you. One of my social media guys ran into you somewhere yesterday, day before.
Really?
Did you meet somebody out in town recently?
Man, sorry, I don't remember.
I can't remember who he was. I was surprised.
What, met you out in town? Who did I meet out in town? My days have been just so fucking on top of each other.
People come into me, and they're like, they talking to me, and I'm like, and if I can, I'll be like, who the fuck is this guy? I'll ask Amanda, and she's like, I don't know who this guy is. It happens all the time.
Well, I had that happen last night. I've been trying to post up on Instagram, and I look at people who are liking, right? Like, and then if I don't recognize who they are, I'll look on their page.
I do that,
and I'll look on their page and see what they're posting. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, that's how I know this person. And there's this one guy on there that has been liking all my shit, and I'm like, who is this?
Is it Jarhead Prepper?
No. I look at all his stuff, and it's so random and different. I can't post him anywhere. But I see that one of my other friends is also his friend, and so I was like, hey, I'm just trying to figure out who this guy is so I can appreciate the likes and shit like that. And he goes, I don't know who he is either. He's from the old he's from the old SOE crew, and I don't know who he is. And I'm like, shit.
You gotta watch that too. Your enemies will get in there. You see it a lot in the they have these groups like where you vet these guys, right? It's like a review. Hey, I bought this knife from this dude, and he did exactly what he said he would do, right on time, great packaging, added some extra shit, whatever. But they're like, hey, there's these other threads that are like, I'm gonna buy this thing from this guy. Can anybody done business with him? And you'll see that a lot. Well, we all have 40 friends mutual, but nobody knows him, right? So they'll do that. But what you're doing on Instagram is good to build your audience, right? Because when people, when you look at notifications, it shows you what people have commented, like in abbreviation, and then it shows followers. And I go and look, and because I'm deciding whether I'm going to follow back, because everything you intake can influence what you output, right? So I'm looking at that. If I see and it's a bunch of grumblings, I cannot follow that guy because it's going to populate my feed
with grumblings,
and it's going to influence me. It's going to irritate me, and then that dude's eventually going to realize that I am no longer following him, or it gives him more access to you.
Right.
So I'm very careful what I want to curate my feed with. I used to listen to guys. They're like,
I don't. I'm just like,
yeah,
oh, I'm not following Boobaloo Foof. Boop, follow.
Well, you can to build your audience in the beginning.
I know. It's just like, again, I do search there. Like, if that's the first thing I do, if I notice, because you'll see the colors of their background, and if I notice the same color on 20 things, I'm like, let me see who this is, and I'll look at their feed, and if for the most part, it's just like, okay, I'll follow you because
typically a dude with a bunch of army trucks in his picture, he's somebody that has something in common. And then if you look at his profile and he actually is in the picture with the army trucks, probably a dude we could get along with, right? He's not just picturing random shit.
What were we talking about before you had to pee? Xi Jinping? No, I don't know. Nuclear war?
Grand Poobah.
Nuclear war?
That's what we're gonna have. We're gonna have some people show up and intern, and we're gonna have them build bomb shelters.
I mean,
1970s bomb shelters.
1970s bomb. You can get the plans right off of the internet.
But and the beauty is we can use them for, we can just use them for
canned goods.
Yeah. What's that called? A root cellar.
Root cellar. Yep. Everybody needs a root cellar.
Root cellar.
Root cellar.
Do those have to be concrete?
No. Originally, root cellars were just dirt.
Yeah, we're gonna use use a 8-foot steel culvert.
It's the depth that matters.
Yeah, size doesn't matter, Brandel. That's what she's been telling you all along.
It's the depth so you can get a constant temperature.
Okay, so we're gonna use an 8-foot culvert, metal.
Okay, 8 foot.
And we're gonna use 8-foot wire spool ends because those are 8.5 feet. Right. Okay. How many guys is it going to take to move the 8-foot steel culvert, 20 feet long?
Okay.
A mile up the road.
Up the road?
Well, from there to here.
Oh, from the culvert place to here?
Yeah, by hand. Well, there's going to be a crushing.
Wait a minute, how long is it? How long is it? 20 feet?
Yeah, I figure 20 feet's good.
You might be able to roll it most of the way.
But we want them to pick it up. Do your upboat thing.
I mean, it's possible.
How many guys? 20?
20 would definitely pick it up. You're gonna have to get those. You know those stupid things you see on late night TV, the orange strap that they pick up refrigerators with.
Dude, those work so well.
You're gonna have to get a bunch of those,
those.
So each side of the culvert, the guy can pick up his orange strap.
We used those.
They all have to be the same height, though. Otherwise, one side's gonna be dragging on the ground because of the midget.
Would you rather be the tall guy in the boat crew or the short guy in the boat crew?
Short guy. Always a short guy. He don't touch the boat. His little fingers are touching the boat. He ain't
You know what you
lifting
do
the boat.
with a short guy?
What are you doing with him?
You pull the motor off and have him carry that.
Yeah. No, I would have made the short guy right on top.
Okay.
I would have been like if I was a Bud's instructor.
You really think they could roll a 20-foot culvert here?
Yeah, they could roll it here.
You know, it's spiral. It would like go off.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Could
it's
you
gonna
imagine them getting it down in the
It's
fucking
gonna
ditch?
go all kinds of places. It's gonna get crazy. You're gonna have to have your sticks at each corner to keep it moving. And once it gets going, like I think there's a couple
Somebody's
of places.
getting crushed.
There's a couple places where we might be able to pick up some speed.
It's a serial crushing.
We're gonna have to have Brandel down here at the gas station with his orange vest and his hard hat on and his little stop sign, so people will not run into the huge culvert that is flying down the road at 15 miles an hour.
Did you ever go to survival school
What do you mean, survival school?
other than SEER?
Jungle survival school in the Philippines.
Did they ever give you like a Jeep or something? And you only
No,
had three
that's
wheels?
That's SF. That's SF selection. SASF selection where they do
Because the
that.
Brits do that too. How do you
Yeah.
move it with three wheels?
That's the point. The point is,
Okay, well, tell me, how do you do it?
I don't know the parameters. I forgot. Leo told me a long time ago how you move it with three wheels. It's basically a bunch of guys on the corners lifting that one side and pushing while other guys are carrying all the other fucking shit. It's an exercise. It's all those things are.
So we're not going to try to fabricate something or roll it on a log
No,
on
all-
that corner. Or
all those
put it on a dolly.
all those exercises that they have that are
Teamwork.
ridiculous. No, it's not teamwork. It's leadership. What they're doing is testing and evaluating your ability to get other people to follow you in instruction and get something done. It's about leadership. It's about having the ability to influence other people in a manner that will get the mission accomplished. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. The reality is it doesn't matter how you move 800 sandbags, because that's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is to make sure you move 800 sandbags and you're still combat effective and nobody fucking sat down and started crying.
Would you rather load sandbags with sand or gravel?
Probably gravel.
How come?
It would be easier.
Which one would you rather have though?
Sand. You don't want any
Tell why.
you don't want any objects if you're talking about building something that is going to take gunfire, you don't want any movable objects. You want all objects that absorb instead of push. So if you
create more shrapnel.
Yeah, if you have a sandbag full of fucking rocks and a bullet hits it, whatever velocity that bullet is going at the time of hitting the rock now is going at the same velocity. So you can be fucked up just as quickly by rocks as you can by, the 5.56 round that went into the.
Is dry sand as good as wet sand?
No, wet sand is better.
Wet sand's better?
Wet sand's better. But you can't, you can, but you can't control for that, right? If you build your fucking bunker, you can't really control for that.
You're going to super like all the trees that are down out here.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I can't ride over these. they're pretty long to ride around. I can't ride over them. Oh, you could definitely lay behind this though. Some of those, there's some big fucking trees down out there.
So yeah, you want the wet sand is better than dry sand, but again, sandbags just in general, if they're full of sand, are very, very good for stopping bullets.
How many sandbags come on a pallet of sandbags?
Oh, I don't know a lot.
Did
Tons.
you when you needed your guys to do stuff, did you have them fill sandbags?
No.
Did you ever fill?
You fill sandbags because you have to fill sandbags. I mean, we did 15,000 sandbags at Camp Gannon.
How long did that take?
Month.
Working every day.
Every day, yeah. Every day you had a rifle platoon. Every day there was a rifle platoon out there in the pit filling sandbags.
How many sandbags could you do? How
don't know
how many's
how
a
many.
rifle platoon?
30 guys, roughly.
How long? How many in a day? How many?
I don't. When you're out there, because Again,
Okay, our crew we had here.
I am not a stand in the rear, watch guys fill sandbags, Staff Sergeant. I was in the pit with them filling sandbags. You don't count fucking you just fill sandbags and you're out there all day and you fill sandbags. Because the problem is when you are done filling sandbags, there's more sandbags to fill. So you're just filling sandbags.
Okay,
and then you got to carry them to where they have to go. It's a fucking disaster.
If you could pick 6 guys that we've had ever work here, you can put together your 6-man team.
Okay.
Have you pictured them?
No, only one of them.
Who's on the team?
Curtis.
Okay.
I know Curtis would fill sandbags until his fucking.
Do I get to be on the team?
Motherfucker, no, you don't get to be. You're not a sandbag filler.
Why? You don't think I would fill sandbags?
You're not a sandbag filler. You're a sandbag filler director. The reason why we're out there filling sandbags is because of you. You're not a sandbag filler. You would fill your fucking thing would be, this is how it would work. We would spend all day filling sandbags. And then the next morning we would come in and there would be a pile of sandbags next to our pile of sandbags. And you'd be like, I filled 3 more sandbags than you guys last night because I was up all night filling sandbags.
That's exactly what would happen.
So no, you're not on the team. You don't get to be on the team.
I'm just looking for your number so I know what number to do more of.
That's right.
How many sandbags with you and your 6-man team do you think you could fill in let's say a day? If we had to sandbag the driveway, right?
I mean,
are you building fighting positions with sandbags?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the whole point of them.
How many fighting positions would you put on the driveway?
On the driveway?
Yeah, that's the only point we're worried about right now is the driveway.
So if you're talking driveway, you're going to have one primary. You're going to have one primary on each side of the driveway.
Yep.
So there's 2. Then you're going to have a secondary
fallback,
a secondary, and a tertiary. So you're going to have 6 fighting positions just to cover the fucking driveway.
Okay. How many sandbags do you think is in each position?
It depends on how elaborate you get. The primary position should be a full. It should be a full sandbag parapet. So there's probably, my guess is 250.
Okay.
Because we're talking full coverage. We're talking double layer on the wall. You have a roof coverage because that's the first thing that's going to get hit by an RPG. So you want the most protection you can. As you go back, you're going to have less and less protection because, again, it's secondary, tertiary. By the time you get to, the truth of the matter is, by the time you get to tertiary,
nothing there but clackers. We're not.
Yeah,
fighting from there.
you're the CO's on the radio.
Calling
in air on your own position.
Okay, so we need 1,500 sandbags.
Okay, 1,500. Probably take 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
With your 3 best guys?
3 best guys? I had 6.
6. Yeah.
I had 6.
Yeah,
Would you kill
guys.
3 of them?
It's probably faster with 3.
No.
You don't think so?
No, 6 is.
If
you got 6 guys,
if I got 50 guys show up, 30 of them are in the way.
Yes, that's true. That is true. But if you said I get to hand select them. If I get to hand select them, then they're going to work in teams of 2, and they're just going to build sandbags.
What's Curtis doing now? Still galvanized?
I don't know what he's welding
by now.
He's welding, galvanized. He does everything over there.
Okay.
I think he's like I believe he's like the sole survivor. Like from the original people, he's like the only one still there working. So he kind of gets to tell him what he wants and what he doesn't want. But I mean, yeah, sandbags. Or, they do make an adapter on a skid steer where you can pick up sand and then it has an auger inside.
Yeah.
And you put the sandbag on there and the auger pushes the sand in it and then you tie it up and throw it.
They got another thing. It's just a hopper, and it's like for filling foam peanuts. It's got the big bag, and you just fill them. Okay, so filling sandbags. How do you fill sandbags if you're going to do them? How would you do them?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Well, you got a dude holding them, and you're just going to shovel in there?
One dude holds, one dude shovels, and then you rotate every couple of sandbags.
Do you know the road cone trick?
No.
You just have 2 sawhorses or trash cans, put a ladder across it, and it perfectly holds traffic cones.
Two things that no one who really has to fill sandbags ever has with them. A ladder and road cones.
Surely there's road cones somewhere.
2 things that no one.
I'll bet we could drive around this town right now and come back with a ladder.
Yeah, but we don't. Here's the gist of it. We don't have to fill sandbags. We can be, whenever you're talking about something expeditionary like filling a sandbag, we can be creative as fuck back here in the world, but when you have to fill sandbags, you're not, because I want you to just think about this. If you have to fill sandbags, or if you have to fill sandbags, you're in a position where HESCOs will work just as good. And HESCOs can be filled 10 times faster than a sandbag could ever be filled. And HESCOs provide probably 20 times more protection than a fucking sandbag.
What are we filling a HESCO with?
Dirt, just straight up dirt.
Just any dirt.
Yeah, just straight up dirt.
Same as we're going to fill sandbags. Any
No,
dirt.
you don't want to. Well, because again, the problem with sandbags is they're not very big, and you can use regular dirt, but you don't want to use dirt that has a high concentration of rocks and shit because you're just creating more frag.
Have you seen the sandbags that you just put them where you want them and you wet them and they just inflate?
I have not.
It's not really for fighting positions, but it's for water deviation.
Yeah, water deviation. The same thing with HESCOs. The HESCOs have been around for a long time. The Corps of Engineers used them all the time in levees. It's just a recent adaptation for the military where we started using them as, using them for walls.
What sizes do HESCOs come in?
They come in all kinds of sizes. They get, they'll be like, I think they're 5 by 5 by 6, and then you can get small ones too that make small walls.
Do they come flat packed?
Yeah, they're all flat packed, and then you just pull them out
They're
apart.
like plastic or something, right?
It's it's metal. It's reinforced metal, kind of the same type of metal that's on your cow panels, and then it's a canvas material inside. That's how you hold the dirt in, and it creates pressure against the metal, and then it holds the dirt in, and it fucking works awesome. I mean, I've seen dudes run tanks into them and it stops the tank.
Can we buy them like we buy sandbags though? Like, can we just go to like
no
Surplus and pallets of them show up?
I have searched for HESCOs because I've wanted to use HESCOs as barriers on the range. The only place you can get them is Alibaba, and I'm not buying any Alibaba HESCOs because they're probably like you'll get them and they're just fucking miniatures and shit.
That's what was happening when we were searching. What was I searching? Razor wire or triple string? Concertina wire, actual concertina wire. And we sourced pallets of it right here in the United States, U.S. military surplus. But when you look at it, a lot of the shit came up with Alibaba or Amazon. And when you really read the fine print, you got to read the reviews because they're like, yeah, we got this. And it says so many feet, right? It says 1,000 feet. Well, that's if you stretched it all the way out and you cut it all apart flat, you would have 1,000 feet by the time you have all the coils and shit. It's actually 10 feet of fucking actual, when it's deployed, you have 10 feet of usable concertina wire.
Well, those rolls they're not super long. I want to say they're 25 feet.
Because you need to be able to move them by hand. Yeah.
So you basically, you shake them out and you need to be able to move them by hand. And then they T-post the spots where they're shaked out and you can wire them together. And then you put another one in front of that, and then you put another one on top of that.
Want 3 of them.
So, you don't want it to be 1,000 feet long because I don't know if you could shake that out. It would be heavy as fuck.
What about just using K-rails?
K-rails for what?
Like concrete barriers on the freeways,
Yeah.
Could we just use that as fighting positions?
You could put K-rails in front of it, but you're still going to want sandbags.
To catch the bullets so
that
it doesn't deflect it.
If you got your K-rail, right? So if you got your fighting position up there, and you put your K-rail here, you're going to want to put sandbags on top of the K-rail because when the bullets hit the K-rail, again, it's going to create shrapnel. It's going to go upward, so you want that to be absorbed by the sandbags. And then you still have to put a roof and all that other shit on there. The goal is to keep rockets from taking out the position because that's the first thing you're going to do as the offensive operation is you're going to identify all the positions. And you're going to attempt to identify where all the machine guns are. And then you're going to attack those positions with rockets. So you need to create a defense. You need to create a defensible space for the guys in there. So even if they get hit, when that rocket hits that K-rail, the dudes are going to be okay and be able to put the machine gun back up and keep firing.
But what if we want to actually capture the machine gun?
If we want to capture the machine gun?
Snipers.
I mean, if we want to capture the machine gun, you just wait for those guys to make a mistake. I don't have to be better than you. I just have to wait for you I just have to exploit the mistake you're going to make when you fall asleep.
What if we wanted to capture them? Could you just shoot his trigger finger off?
Maybe. Depends on how close we are.
Could you do it?
Well, 1 inch, minute of angle. Trigger finger's minute of angle. You just have
You
to
won't be drinking tea no more.
Yeah, it's got to be. You just got to be in the right place at the right time.
All right.
Yeah.
So now what about, so we set up the fighting positions at the end of the driveway.
Okay.
What vehicle could run through those?
It depends on what you're. I don't know what you understand what you mean. Any heavy duty vehicle, meaning you already have a pretty elaborate security system in place, right? You have a pretty elaborate security system in place that would definitely entangle any type of automobile. So to attack that position, I would use a heavy vehicle. So you take a fucking dump truck, fill it with dirt. That dump truck's going to go right through all those fucking fences and keep going. The problem with you have this dump truck that's coming through. It's a heavy vehicle. Even with 2 machine guns there's probably a good chance the truck could still get through.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to put K-rails up within the interior of the drive. So you'd have to. That's why you always see serpentine K-rail. Yeah, because it slows down whatever vehicle is coming in. And the good thing about where you're at is a vehicle cannot create speed to defeat the barriers. So a lot of barriers can be defeated with enough speed, meaning if a fucking 18-wheeler is going 65 miles an hour, your house is not stopping it. But if it's only going 15 miles an hour, there's a good chance your house will stop it. Because of how your turn is, there's no capability for that vehicle to use speed to defeat barriers, meaning like a K barrier. A fucking dump truck could blow a fucking K barrier right off the road with speed, right? With the weight and speed, it could do it. But without being able to generate that speed, it's going to get stuck on the first barrier, maybe even get stuck in the fences because it just doesn't have the speed. While it has the weight, it doesn't have the speed. Now, you defeat that by bringing in an armored vehicle, or not an armored vehicle, but a track vehicle. So a track vehicle doesn't need the speed to use the power it has in order to climb over those barriers. A fucking dump truck can't climb over the barriers, but a fucking, a D9 dozer can. So it can attack that slowly. But then the problem with a D9 dozer is now you have something moving slow towards your whatever firepower you're using to stop. So it gives them more time to engage that target and stop the target.
Sniper shoot off his pinky finger,
or the hydraulic, hitting all the hydraulic cylinders on the blade in order so he can't manipulate it. Maybe the blade just goes into the ground and now he can't fucking move.
It would be nice to have a big dump truck, like one of those, like the big ones, like they bring gravel in, with like that plow blade on the front. Not like a normal, like the car pusher plow blade. That'd be cool to have. Would be.
They did it on Mythbusters and really.
Oh yeah.
They fucking tore through cars with that thing.
Have you seen all the the new Ford Bronco videos?
No. Getting smashed?
Oh my God. Yeah. There's nothing even left of them. They hit them from the front, hit them from the back with the dump truck just against a concrete wall. They show a lot of other vehicles that seem to actually survive, like the passenger, but that Bronco, man, you're gone.
Just think aluminum can.
Yeah. That's exactly what it looks like.
It's just an aluminum can, and it doesn't have steel reinforcements all over the place. And that's what, the way cars used to be made is you would have like a crumple zone and then then you would go right into steel. And the crumple zone was to get that, whatever's hitting you,
away.
To take that energy away, slow that thing down. And then when it hit the steel, it would stop it. The problem with making an all steel car and them impacting each other is then the occupant receives all the G force from whatever it is. And so that was fucking breaking people's necks and shit. And so with this crumple zone, it takes a lot of that energy out, so you're not getting as fucked up.
Totals those cars. Those cars are useless afterwards.
Well, I mean, if it saved your life, then that's all right.
I feel like things were just safer in the old days. Metal cars and such.
I don't know. Maybe.
It seemed like it was more fun. I mean, you remember like riding up in the deck in the back of a car as a kid?
Yeah.
No seatbelt?
No. You couldn't find a seatbelt in the back of a car in the 80s.
Right. And then they had, have you seen the pictures of the, they had like a divot where you put your baby
Oh,
on the,
yeah,
on
in
the
the back
front
window. Yeah,
dash.
that's
And the front dash,
That's some 1950s shit.
they had a
right there.
coffee maker in some of the cars, like an actual coffee maker in some of those cars. The zoo, it seems like it was a lot more fun.
The zoo, probably.
Have you seen the pictures of the zoo where like when they wore those big, what are those hoop dresses called? Like when women wore corsets and shit. There's pictures of them riding like ostriches around saddle. Like you go to the zoo and you could actually touch the animals.
Yeah.
That just seems like it was just a better time.
Yes, but you can't. Again, that's that social experiment when it's real easy. It's real easy for me to give to. It's real easy for me to give an experience to 20 people that is safe and exciting. But when 100,000 people show up, somebody's getting hurt.
So
somebody's getting fucking trampled.
I don't know if it was like in Africa or it was like a stateside game park, but they used to take people and put them in these like big, it'd be cool to have a big fucking circus cage. I've never seen one of those, but they would put these circus cages on the back of trailers, right? Like they would move the lions and shit in, and they'd put a bunch of people in the circus cage and they'd tow you out. And the fucking lions would get up on the cage and they'd reach in, try to get you and shit. Well, there's the caption, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but Bob, apparently he got out of the circus cage to take a better picture, and the lion got a hold of Bob.
There's always people like that, though. That's natural selection. You should just let that happen.
Have you up past Jackson here, about an hour from here, probably maybe an hour 20 minutes? There's a drive-through zoo.
You've never been through it.
So we went to it. Dude, it was a fucking blast. It was so much fun. I'm talking about it now. They don't have any like shit. Well, I mean, I guess there's stuff out there that could kill you, but there's not like man eaters out there. It's I got some giraffes, a lot of zebras, ostriches, emus, some other fucking animals with horns and shit. And they sell you this bucket of feed. It's like a big bucket from. Remember when you go to when you actually went to movie theaters and they had a bucket of popcorn. Now everything's like a fucking shitty paper bag.
Yeah.
And give you a bucket of popcorn. It's about that size, like a trick-or-treat thing. And they give you their feed. Well, the key to it is you take your own bag of feed. You buy their little bullshit bucket or whatever, and then you just refill it yourself. So you drive out and you go across these cattle gates, and you see these zebras. You're like, oh, there's some zebras. So Amanda rolls her window down, has her bucket right there, right? Zebra comes over, kind of looks around to see who's in the truck, goes to get some of the bucket, grabs the bucket, pulls it out of the car, throws it on the ground. And I'm like, she's like, it just took the bucket. I go, yeah, you better go get the fucking bucket. That's the only feed we have. She's like, I'm not getting out of here. But when you look around that first turn, there's 20 buckets laying out. Yeah. That's their stick. They knew what was going on.
Yeah, they know you don't know.
You open the window a little bit, and the ostrich sticks its head in and like reaches across and it's eaten. Like you can touch. You're not supposed to touch the animals, but like I touched every animal there.
I don't know how you could have a drive-through safari park and be like, and whatever you do, don't touch the animals. You gave me a bucket of feed. Of course I'm going to touch the animals because the animals are going to probably be touching me as they're sticking their head in the car to get through this fucking delicious nectar of life that you've given me.
Imagine the photos we could get if we just rolled the window up while the ostrich's head was in there flailing around. I'll bet you could get some cool stop motion. I'd send you all those videos of the cats, like stole a fish and it's running and you catch it midair frozen. Like there's some great, and like dogs underwater, those are great pictures too when they freeze frame those.
Yeah.
All right, so
safari park.
Let's talk about your dog kennel Little Spoon.
You want to talk about my dog kennel Little Spoon?
For people that don't know, what prompted that? Why? Like, where are you going with it? What made you decide to do that instead of something else? For instance, like that, like super cool idea. I knew whatever you were going to do was going to be good because you're able to do it.
It's not super cool. It is okay.
It's working well.
So I'm going through. I was going through a bit of a midlife crisis, I guess.
You're not anymore?
No, I mean, I still am, really.
Okay.
I was going through a bit of a midlife crisis because, we.
Would a Corvette fix this?
No, Corvette wouldn't fix this. There's only one thing that can fix it.
Daihatsu mini truck.
Oh man, that's close. The Daihatsus are pretty cool.
Did you see the one I sent you from Nashville? It's a Honda. It's fucking really nice. It's gray. It has like modern interior in it.
Yeah, the Daihatsus are pretty cool. Anyways, but it's a midlife crisis because, you tend to get buried behind everything and nothing ever gets done. And this trailer had shown up. Will brought it. It belonged to Will and Hannah. And
were they going to do this with it?
The plan was that they were going to do it. And unfortunately, their situation did not continue. And so Will had this thing, and I think he also lost the motivation once Hannah was out of the picture. And so it had just been sitting. And I don't know what I was doing. I was looking at something. And I saw the dog. It was Gov Surplus, and I saw the dog kennel, and I'm like, that looks pretty big. So I'm looking at it and shit, and then I send Will a PM, and I'm like, hey man,
stop it.
What, you can hear it?
Yes.
Say ASMR. Come on, guys. So I send Will a PM, and I'm like, hey, have you seen one of these? He's like, yeah, I've seen one.
I'm looking at it right now.
I have one in my backyard on a trailer. I'm like, you have one on a trailer? I'm like, man, I'd really like to play with that. Can you bring it up? And he's like, yeah, I'll bring it up. And I'm like, how much do you want for it? You worked on it. You got it where it is now. It's got to have a money value. And then he was like, he threw a number out, and then he's like, but I don't want any of the money. If you're going to give me any money, just give it to Hannah.
What was the number?
I don't remember. It wasn't a lot. He's like, just give it to Hannah. And I'm like, okay, man, you're making this complicated. Cause you're not telling me real information. And so one weekend he just drove up here with it and dropped it off. And it's like, here it is. This is the thing. And so I've had it for a while, and I took it over to John's and I parked it. And, again, I'm having my midlife crisis, and I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, I am never, ever fucking going to do this. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to fucking make this thing and just go see the fucking world, right? I'm never going to do it, because we never do that thing. We always think about, oh, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And then it just gets put behind for whatever reason, because you got to fucking feed the dogs or the cats or whatever.
I do it all day long. Yeah,
you do it all day long. So you never really get to do the thing that, when you were 18, you really wanted to do. I've driven across this country probably 50 times, coast to coast. It's always been an emergency. Not necessarily an emergency, but it's always been A to B, and I would be driving down the road and I'd be like, holy shit, the world's largest frying pan. I would love to see that next time. Boom, and just keep going. It just wouldn't happen. And so I've got fucking 50 projects at my house. 50 things that I've wanted to get done, and just go do things that are a part of those projects.
Name 3 of those.
M151 that's been apart since 2008. A fucking a 1973 Ford Falcon GT Coupe, Mad Max car that's sitting in my garage right now. Get the Unimog completely fucking restored. There's just,
holy shit, you got like real ones. Those are big. I wasn't even thinking any of those. I thought you were gonna be like, cut down some trees, trim some roses.
No, I don't even. That's the part of the crisis is I've created this world that I live in that it's not really fulfilling, right? On a day-to-day basis, I'm just existing. I'm not really fulfilling any of the things I want to fulfill. And so I picked the dog kennel because I figured the dog kennel could get me over that hump. And the dog kennel really is the easiest of all those projects. It's the easiest for me to be able to accomplish and get done. That's part of the YouTube channel. The reason why I said I'm going to do it on a YouTube channel instead of just doing it is because it's forcing me to get it done. Every week I have to come up with content and figure out how I can push this thing forward, and that forces me to get it done. And so that's really the whole goal of it. Like it'd be nice if it became financially rewarding. And that's initially what I was thinking in my head, that maybe that is what's going to help me get out of this. But the reality is it's just the push. It's the push to get the thing done so I can actually go, go places and see things and do the things I want to do. So it's really just the push to get it done. I mean, I'm already thinking about the supercar as the next project and trying to force a deadline to be able to get that out to not California. Where do they do Burning Man? Where's Burning Man at? It's not California, is it? Anymore? Or is it?
I don't know. Why are you taking it to Burning Man?
No, because there's an offshoot organization, Wasteland Weekend.
Warriors, yeah.
Yeah, which is
But that's not at the same place. They have those all over. They even have an East Coast one.
Yeah,
Nevada.
But the big one is there. And so ideally I would want to go take my Mad Max car to the Mad Max world.
Mm.
So that would be the next thing.
Are you going to dress up like that?
Fuck yeah, of course. Of course.
So-
it's time to stop worrying about.
Do you know who Kiri is?
Uh-uh.
You know her. She was set up right by my workspace at SRF. Green Mohawk. She's one of the promoters for Burning Man.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows if any of this is gonna play out? I mean, my whole world might fall apart tomorrow, and none of it'll play out.
But
the goal is
you'll be living in the dog kennel.
The goal is I've already done it 3 times.
You slept in the dog kennel? Where?
At the world's greatest camping spot. I slept 2 nights at the world's greatest camping spot, and then once at John's place.
Where's that fucking lake you're taking pictures of?
I can't tell you.
Is it a pond?
I can't tell you. I don't want to ruin it.
Is it even?
No,
Is it?
No, it's a lake.
Yeah?
It's the biggest lake in the United States.
Yeah, it runs through all of
Yeah.
Tennessee and
It's all
Kentucky.
in Tennessee.
Yeah,
It's
I
actually
gotcha.
those pictures last night were from Cuba Landing.
Nice.
I met I was at the house. I was at John's house.
This is going to be the guy you met somebody.
No, I probably not. I was at John. Well, again, most people don't know this, or maybe some of you have figured it out, that I've been chasing sunsets and sunrises, trying to get out and get those pictures every day. And so far, for the past month, I've been able to do it every single day. And so I was at John's house, and it now has become this thing where I'm hunting for the sunset picture, right? I'm hunting for I can't seem to figure out how to take a picture of a sunrise, but I'm hunting for the sunset pictures. And so I've been driving around the county finding places, and you'd be amazed at how hard it is to find a place where you can take a picture of a sunset. And so for some reason, I just thought Cuba Landing. I'm going to go to Cuba Landing, and there has to be a spot there where I can.
Where's Cuba Landing?
It's right on the 40.
Yeah, on the way back here
Yeah.
from Loretta Lynn's.
And so I went to Cuba Landing, and it's a bit of a ghost town. Like, there's people that live there, but the pier, there's nobody. And there was this gentleman there fishing, named Timothy. And here I come, I got my fucking I got my camera and shit, my phone, and I'm like, I gotta get this fucking picture. And I'm trying to get these pictures, and he's like, oh, you missed it. Last night was the shit. It was purple and golden. He goes, you just missed it. And I'm like, God damn it. And so I sat there and I talked with him for probably an hour. He's from he's not from Kenya. His wife is from Kenya, but he bought 11 acres. He lives in a trailer on the 11 acres right there next to Cuba Landing, and he comes down to the pier every day and just fishes. And he's like, this is the best spot. There's nobody bothers you, nothing, and he's just like, it's like this little pier place is like his own little spot. And
Wildlife Authority will get him. He was probably under the pier waiting.
Maybe. And he's just fishing, and we talked for a little bit, and then I'm like, all right, if you think this is a spot, I'm going to come back. And so yesterday I had a bunch of stuff. I had some stuff delivered, and then I had to take a gun back to Dixon to fucking send it off to get fixed. And so I was doing a bunch of running around, and it was like 3:30. I'm like, fuck, I'm not gonna make it. So I end up hauling ass back to John's. It's 4:00. Sunset's 4:45. I'm 30 minutes from Cuba landing, so I just burned down there. I'm like, I have to chase it. I have to make it.
Without the trailer.
Without the trailer, yes. It's just me and the truck and the cameras. And so I went down there, and, the first 10 pictures I took were like, they weren't very good. It was just whatever. And then the sun hit that perfect spot, and everything just fucking completely changed colors. Everything was, you could see it all reflecting in the water. It was fucking badass. Like, I was like, even Timothy got up, and he's like, man, I'm going to have to take a picture of that. That's better than the one I saw yesterday. And he took a picture. But yeah, it was a really, really good sunset.
You'll hear the term golden hour. And it's the hour before that, especially for drone shots and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what
So how many cameras are you rolling around with?
Just 2. But I usually don't. So like when people see the pictures that I post, that's just cell phone, because what is that? Sony Guts takes too big of pictures, and so you can't post them.
Yeah, you have to shoot everything twice.
I'll
get in the truck and I'll say something, Amanda will say something really good, and then when I turn it off, I'll say the same thing, and she just knows now to just do it again. So I can have it for the short form, and I can have it for this.
Well, every time, like when I had the trailer at the perfect camping spot in all of Tennessee, I was trying to take night shots. I was taking pictures of the stars, and some of them came out pretty good. I'm like, oh, that's fucking good. I need to forward that picture, and then the computer and the phone's always like, fuck you, asshole, it's too big. You can't send that shit. And so I was trying to work all these different angles on how to fucking send these night pictures, and I just couldn't figure it out. I need Brandel to tell me how to fucking make them smaller.
Do you have an Apple phone?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't work at night.
Well, I was using that camera.
Let me tell you something. Camera. Samsung has the best for taking pictures of the moon.
Yeah.
Here's something I recently learned. If you are looking at the moon with your Samsung and you zoom in, you can see craters and shit. It's bullshit. It's not the picture of the moon. It is fucking pulling that motherfucker off the internet, and it gives everybody the exact same fucking picture of the moon.
Does it really do that?
That's what everybody said. Apparently that's been busted out. You are not.
That's smart.
You are not magnifying and zooming in on the moon when all of a sudden you see it and it's like really big and you have to capture it and hold it for a second, and then all of a sudden it zooms in, and no, it's a stock photo that it's giving you.
That would be pretty interesting if that's what they're doing.
It's been busted out. They say that is in fact what it's doing.
Anyways, yeah. So
how many videos you filmed this week? A lot?
6 maybe. But yeah. I'm doing so. Obviously now I have to do videos for Patreon. So I'm doing videos for Patreon, which are mostly gun videos, and then I'm doing giveaway videos, and then like 3 for the trailer.
Yeah, we know the dude that won your kit back.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yep.
Do you have GoPros?
I only have one camera.
You gotta get a GoPro. You know why?
Why?
Because you're gonna want to do shit and you're gonna fuck that camera up.
I
put the GoPro right in like the wood chips coming off the saw. Sometimes it melts a little bit.
I was already thinking of. I was like, I'm gonna take I shouldn't say it on here. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Weren't you here when we fucked his real camera all up, like the expensive one?
Yeah, I already was thinking about. I'm gonna take the dog kennel out onto Kentucky Lake, and just take it and drive it down the ramp
into the water,
and shit. And so I'm thinking, and then I'm like,
GoPro would be perfect.
I'm like, how the fuck do I do that with this camera? I already did. I was trying to do a video where I'm driving the Suzuki Sandbar around, and I set the camera up in the corner on the tripod.
Your mini truck?
The mini truck, yeah. Camera on the tripod, and the fucking, eventually it's just like boom. I'm like, oh shit, that's not gonna work.
GoPro's perfect for
that. I know it is, but again, the wallet is tight.
Yeah.
The wallet's tight. I can't even afford a fucking, the microphone.
We'll get it.
I got to yell at the camera.
All right, I got to pee.
John's got to pee. Oh, we're still.
Now, we're back live.
Are we back live?
Are you ready?
I don't know. Are we? Anyways, so, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Right on.
I've had an existential life crisis.
How many followers you got?
I don't know.
Dog Kennel and Little Spoon. Check it out.
I don't know.
What now that you're using all social media platforms, which one do you find most friendly that you like the best?
I mean, I'm still. I think. I don't know. Instagram? No, not Instagram.
Facebook.
Probably still Facebook. But I'm not. The problem is I'm not really interacting on the Dog Kennel Little Spoon Facebook page because we have some connectivity issues. So like I want to post pictures on there, but when it comes from my thing, it goes somewhere else, and so somebody else has to get on there and be like post. So I haven't got it yet, but I still like Facebook better than Instagram.
I used Facebook, from the beginning, and I liked it, and I was really like, I don't like any of this other shit, man. As soon as you start using them, though, Instagram's the easiest. As far as,
and it's weird. Because again, I don't understand it. As far as population goes, Instagram is way better. I could take a picture of this Pepsi bottle right now, and there'll be 10 people within the next 30 seconds. They're like, boop, 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 talking about Pepsi bottle, where
Facebook
doesn't happen on Facebook.
Facebook has fucked their shit up so bad.
So
it's like they know it's fucked up, and they know that it's ending, and they're just like not doing anything with it.
I just haven't figured out how to properly use Instagram in the sense of looking at what other people are posting and seeing who they really are versus MagDump 2550. I don't know who that guy is.
Ass Eater 25.
Yeah. So that I'll get around to it. I'll try and post something on Instagram every night.
So Dog Kennel Little Spoon.
Dog Kennel Little Spoon
is on Facebook, Instagram,
and
TikTok,
and
yes.
YouTube.
And I'm sure shorts are going up on YouTube also. I know they are. I've seen.
Yeah.
And then you have a Patreon.
And we have a Patreon page.
Also, Dog Kennel and Little Spoon.
Dog Kennel and Little Spoon.
Is it Dekill? Dog Kennel Little Decals? Or is it spelled? It's all spelled out, right?
It's all spelled out. Yeah, it's Dog Kennel Little Spoon.
Cool.
So, it's you gotta really type in.
But it'll auto-populate once you're there.
It's it's long.
Yeah, so jump on those platforms. Give it a like, whichever platform you like to use. Leave some comments. What really helps is if you share it, that little arrow, if you share that out and you want to help Jeff grow the channel. He can't monetize anything. He can get zero monetization on this till he reaches a certain threshold, and he needs thousands of hours watched. So if you happen to be on YouTube, just play his videos over and over and over. Help him out.
Turn the volume down. I don't like to hear myself talk.
And check that out. And you'll be seeing a lot of content out there. We're going to do some collaboration stuff. We're going to kind of do some of the same videos, same destination, my take versus his take. We'll do some head-to-head stuff.
Yeah,
his will be way better.
No, we're going to take we're going to bring the Nissan Titan out, and we're going to put the Toyota Tacoma in the back, and I'm going to drive John around while he's in the back of my Toyota or my Nissan Titan. Man, it'll be fun.
Toyota has a mini truck that's out. I think it's like $10,000 or something. I don't think it's hit the stage yet, but we probably could put that in the.
That would be funny as shit.
Yeah, that'd be
especially
good.
if it was all painted up like a Tacoma.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's Pulling the Thread podcast for this week. We're going to jump off and Patreon. We're going to run through the Patreon questions. So if you're not a Patreon member, Special Operations Equipment Patreon, he has a Patreon also, yes. Dog Kennel Little Spoon. Jump on there, ask questions, and we're going to build this next video for Patreon for the Patreon members based on the questions that were asked there. So make sure you find us over there and give us a join. Thank you, guys, and we will see you next week.